Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of Ask the Expert here at SILCA. I am Travis, and I'm going to take you through how I would wax a chain at home. So there's a million different ways to get a chain clean, a bunch of different variations. Really what I think is the easiest, the quickest to make this process super simple is we're just going to use some ball jars, mineral spirits, acetone, and I have some hot wax here in our crock pot. So today we're going to wax one of the new Dura-Ace XTR 12-speed Shimano chains. What you see here, plus something to dip the chain in the wax, is all you're going to need. So we have a little basket. You can use a bent spoke, you can use a zip tie, something like that, just to get it out of the wax. So we'll take you through all the steps. We're going to start with mineral spirits, finish with acetone, and we'll be all set. Alrighty, so we're at our first step. We need to take our chain out of the packaging. These ones will have a master link here in a little baggie. These actually don't need wax, so we'll just set that aside for right now. And our instructions. So what we're going to do, we're going to open our ball jar and just cut the packaging. I like to drop this in first. There's a grease on here called Cosmoline that is really used in shipping to keep the grease from being on there, the grease is on there to keep it from being rusted. So we'll set this aside. This process, we're going to start out with a brand new chain. If you have a used chain that you've ridden on, and I mean like a ride or two, that has any moisture on it at all, you want to skip this step entirely. Mineral spirits can really speed up the rust process if there's water involved. So with these not being out of packaging, we know that there's no water. That's going to be the perfect option. So if you do have a used chain, you're going to want to go through a degreaser bath similar to this, but it might take 5, 6, 7 baths to get that totally clean. So it's definitely easiest to start with a new chain. I'm going to get this, doesn't want to work its way down in there. So now that we have it in, I'm going to fill this up, maybe a third or a half with mineral spirits. In this step, really all we're trying to do is break down that grease, Cosmoline on there, and stop it from, or disconnect it from the chain. So put it in, let it cover, and then we're going to give it a really good shake. Alright, we gave it a shake for about a minute, and as you can see, it got real cloudy, some little particles floating in it, definitely some stuff coming off the chain. So we're going to let it sit there for about 5 minutes while we let the mineral spirits break down that Cosmoline a little more, and then we'll shake it for about another minute, and we'll pull it and actually rinse it off into the sink. Alright, so we've let the chain soak in the mineral spirits for about 5 minutes. We're going to give it another good shake, and then we'll go ahead and pull it. Alright, now that we've got the chain through the mineral spirits, it's really cloudy, got a lot of stuff going on in there. So I'm actually going to take this over and we're just going to rinse any debris off of the chain. And then it's going to go into the next step, which is an acetone bath. And then hopefully we'll be clean enough then. We'll take a look at how the acetone looks after that bath and see if we need to do another one. But for now, I'm going to run over and rinse this off, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, now that we're back from the sink, we got the chain rinsed off. That just kind of helps get rid of a little bit of the residue and any of the kind of fine particles or anything that are sitting on top of the metal. So we're going to drop this chain, now that it's had its mineral spirits bath, into the ball jar, and we're going to add our acetone, and we're going to do a shake with that. Spilled a little, so light that up. Same process as the mineral spirits. We're going to give it a good shake for about a minute, minute and a half, and see where we're at. Alright, well now that we shook the acetone, you'll be able to look in here and see that the acetone is really clear. It's not cloudy, there's not a bunch of flakes floating around in it. That means that we got the chain clean enough to wax. So from here, we're going to take the chain out. And the great part about acetone is that it flashes off really quickly, which is why we like to use it as the final step, because none of this won't leave a good residue or anything. So we will straighten this all out, and then we're going to hang it to dry. Should only take a couple minutes. We're just hanging on the work stand here. Let that dry, and then we'll come back to wax. Alrighty, now that we have our chain that is dry, it's clean, it's stripped, it's ready to go in the wax, a good kind of check to make sure is you can shake the chain, and you'll actually be able to hear the metal on metal rather than the grease in between providing a little bit of cushion. So you get that nice kind of clanging sound. That really tells you that you got it clean. So what we're going to do here is roll this up in our little basket. You can use a spoke or a zip tie, you know, really anything like that to be able to dip it in the wax. You don't want to get your hand in there. It's really hot. So our wax, we got up to about 75°C. We actually just unplugged the crock pot because we want to try to take it out as close to the melting point as possible. We're going to take this, drop it down. And really what that does is it leaves as much wax in there as possible. If you take it out and the wax is really hot, it allows some of it to run out. You don't need to go crazy with this, but the closer you get it to there, the better it's going to be. So we're just going to take our little pot, drop it in, and give it a little shake. And that's going to help try to drive some of that wax into the small nooks and crannies in between the pins, or in between the plates, which is really what you're trying to get lubricated anyway. So as you do this, you'll see bubbles coming up. And when the bubbles stop coming up, that means all the air is out of that chain and wax has filled the voids. Alright, so we have the chain in the wax. We're kind of waiting for it to cool a little bit and get closer to that melting point. We'll show you when it gets there. You'll see the top start to glaze over, and that's when we're going to want to try to pull the chain out. So while we're waiting for that, I thought it might be a good time to go through chain maintenance of a wax chain. So question we get all the time is, do I need to go through this process over and over again every time I need to lube my chain? No. This is just to prep your chain the first time. From then on, you can just wipe it with a microfiber towel, a gear wipe, whatever it may be, just to get the debris off the outside of the chain, and add our super secret chain lube. Or if you want to hot wax, you can take the chain back off and wipe it down with a microfiber towel, just a clean rag, and drop it right back into the wax like we're doing right now, and start at the end of this process. So it's really easy to take care of. The one big thing you want to look out for is water. There's no oil in the chain lube, or in the wax, so you want to make sure that if you go on a long rainy ride, something like that, you really want to get that chain dry as quickly as you can. So wipe it down, use a gear wipe, and you kind of degreaser would kind of help drive some of that out. And then you want to make sure that you get that off of there, and then get it back into wax or drip on super secret kind of as quickly as possible and let it dry so that it's driving out the water with the emulsifiers or with the hot wax. That way you're not getting any rust. So wax is a really great lubricant to keep your chain clean, but that water can be a problem. So not a big issue. All you need to do is take care of it when you're done, and then you'll be all set. So like I said, if you want to go the hot wax route every time or every couple times, just pop your chain off, wipe it down with a rag, back in the wax. Every 250-ish miles or so on clean road riding, you want to use super secret. Just drip a couple drops on each link, roll it backwards a few times, let it dry for at least 4 hours, but 12 to 24 is ideal. And then about every 250 to 300 miles for a hot wax. Typically, I like to go about every 1,000 miles and I will hot wax, and do super secret about every 200 in between, so I'm not taking off the chain every time I need to relube the chain. The maintenance for either is really the same though. Alright, now we have the wax that's cooling. We're getting really close to being able to pull it out. So as it's cooling, what we're going to try to do is keep mixing it around a little bit. That way we don't get any like too coated on the sides. Really all you're trying to lubricate here is between the inner and outer plates. That's where the friction is happening. So any wax that's on the outside of the chain is just going to flake off and make a little bit of a mess later anyway. So as much of that as we can avoid as possible, the better. So now we're going to go ahead and pull this chain out. You'll see we do get just a few drips. I think most of that's coming off the basket, not the chain. And then we'll go ahead and get it onto our surface here. So really what you want to do if you have this on a spoke is hang it up to dry in a basket. It's going to be really hot to the touch because it just sat in wax that's over 100 degrees. So you're going to want to let that dry and cool a little bit. As soon as it's cool, it'll be hard to the touch. You'll have trouble moving the links. Don't worry, that's how it's supposed to be. You just melted wax all over the chain. So you can do a couple different things to break the chain in. You can take a pipe and run it over the pipe back and forth. That will break the chain or break the excess wax off. Really the easiest way is install the chain and go ride for 2 or 3 minutes, and all that extra wax will flake right off and you'll have a really efficient chain. So no need to worry about that. We'll let this cool, and then now we will have a nice 12-speed Dura-Ace chain to throw on our bike. All right, thanks for joining us here on another episode of Ask the Expert. Today we got our chain waxed. We got that out of the pot. It's pretty stiff. That's totally normal. This is actually how you'll get a chain when you buy one of our pre-treated chains, and the master link will come with it. But we don't need to wax that because it's just the inner and outer pins or inner and outer plates that are rubbing against each other. That's causing the friction. These are just outer plates, so the inner plates already have the wax on them. They're all set. So we'll be able to put this on a bike and it'll be really clean, really quiet, and really fast running drivetrain. So thanks again for joining us. Any questions, leave them in the comments. Send us an email, sales@silca.cc. Go ahead and like the video if you liked it. We'd love if you subscribe, and we'll see you next time.